Chapter 1. The Importance of Intergenerational Wealth. Dear children, by the time you read this book, I'm sure you will have heard someone mention the phrase intergenerational or generational wealth around you at some point. You might have even watched a movie, listened to a song, or found something on the internet that talks about it. Even the Bible tells us about generational wealth in Proverbs 13:22, which states that a good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children, and the wealth of a sinner is stored up for the righteous. Intergenerational wealth can be defined as money, businesses, knowledge, or any asset passed down from one generation to another. This chapter will demonstrate why generational wealth is important and why there is a big wealth gap between minorities and people of European descent in North America. One of the reasons why generational wealth is important is that most wealthy people don't get wealthy within one lifetime. Although there are exceptions, many people become wealthy because someone in their family left them with what I would call a head start in life. This head start can come in the form of a business, money, most of the time it's from life insurance, or some other type of asset that's been passed down. This head start helps their family financially, which then, in turn, helps to give them more options in life. To put things in perspective, imagine two people on a track about to run 100 yards. At the end of the 100 yards, they will gain financial freedom, each yard being equal to 1 year. These two people happen to be identical twins with the same build, strength, and stamina. One of the twins is called Sam, and the other Jonathan. Now, imagine right before the race starts, Sam has moved 50 yards ahead of Jonathan. This means that Sam only has to run 50 yards to get to the 100-yard mark in order to gain financial freedom. On the other hand, Jonathan still has to run the full 100 yards to gain financial freedom. In terms of years, Sam will be financially free when he is 50 years old, and Jonathan at 100 years old. For Jonathan to finish the race at the same time as Sam, he will have to work twice as hard as Jonathan to get the same finishing time as him. Remember that they are twins and have the same build, stamina, and strength. Given Sam's advantage, this means it's going to be almost impossible for Jonathan to achieve financial freedom at the same time as Sam. Furthermore, Jonathan might not even achieve financial freedom in his lifetime at all. That is what generational wealth does to people's lives. It gives them a head start in life financially. The next generation's responsibility will be to properly manage the assets, businesses, or money handed down to them so that the following generation has more than what they started with. As long as each generation continues to grow the assets, businesses, or money, then each generation that follows after will become wealthier. Eventually, instead of starting at the 50-yard mark, the upcoming generation will start at the 40-yard line. The generation after them will start at the 30-yard line, until eventually a generation will be born already at the 100-yard mark. One of the reasons why there is a significant wealth gap between minorities and people of European descent is that most European descendants have been given a substantial financial head start in life. Before the slave trade was abolished, European ancestors used slavery to build their wealth, and current systems like systemic racism are put in place to help them continue to build their wealth. They made sure that minorities had next to nothing, while the Europeans continued to build their wealth, farms, and other businesses on the backs of the enslaved minorities. Not only did they pass down their farms and businesses to their children, but also passed down their racist mindset. For multiple generations, minorities had next to nothing to pass down to their children because of this cycle, while simultaneously, European descendants saw their wealth compound generation after generation. Even after slavery was abolished, Europeans put systems in place to ensure that they continued to gain wealth while ensuring that minorities remained poor and oppressed. It is as if minorities were finally allowed to play the monopoly game after slavery was abolished, but the game had been ongoing for hundreds of years before their inclusion. Minorities had missed multiple turns to play. They had been stuck in jail for centuries due to the systems put in place to keep them there. Unfortunately, by the time minorities had a chance to roll the dice and play, all the properties were owned except one or two of the cheapest ones. All minorities can do at this point in a monopoly game is to hope that little money they have is enough to at least go around once, and maybe, just maybe, they will have the chance to buy one of the cheap properties that are still available. An example of a real-life system implemented and executed by individuals of European descent that enforced housing discrimination was known as redlining. Redlining was a legal and government-endorsed program that would deny mortgages and home ownership opportunities to African Americans and other minorities. Even though redlining is now illegal, the mindset has been passed down to today's generations. Some people of European descent and other races don't like it when minorities move into their neighborhoods. This is because of the systems implemented to lower the property values in areas where there is a significant population of minorities. On the other hand, this same system will increase the property values in regions without a minority presence. People of European descent may be accepting of a few minorities to move in, but when a large number of minority families start moving in, they tend to see that as a threat to their property value. Gentrification is another system that allows those with money to take over and systemically kick out impoverished communities in a particular area that they were living in. Keep in mind that the majority of people with money had it passed down to them. They do this for many reasons, but the major one is that they are often speculating that the area that the poor individuals are currently living in could be profitable in the future. According to an article written by Stephen Miller in 2020, minorities get paid less than Europeans for the same job, even though they have the same educational background. On the subject of education, schools in areas with a large number of minorities tend to be less funded and are given fewer resources than those without minorities. This is mostly because property taxes are used to fund the school's expenses in that specific school district. So, if you live in an area where the property value for a single-family home is high, then the schools around that area will be adequately funded. On the other hand, if you live in an area where property values are low, then the schools in that district have higher probability of being underfunded. It is yet another system put into our government to keep minorities less educated and poor, but on the other hand, educate and enrich the European descendants. I won't even get into the criminal systems put in place to oppress minority groups, but I just want to give you a small picture of how minorities have been set up to fail within the current systems that are in place today. Hopefully, things will change drastically by the time you read this book. There are many other systems out there, some that we might not even be aware of, but those are stories for another book. We must not lose focus on this book's intention, which is to teach you how to use real estate to build generational wealth. Another reason why intergenerational wealth is important is that it gives us parents peace of mind. The last thing any parent with a good heart wants to do is leave their child in poverty or in a worse situation than the one they grew up in themselves. Any good-hearted parent wants to see their child excel and succeed in whatever they want to do. Most parents will do whatever it takes to help their children succeed. Unfortunately, when it comes to minority families, the lack of financial education makes it difficult to set up children for financial success. Other factors come into play, like the people around you, racism, and the opportunities available to you. But one of the most important is the lack of education. There is a lack of knowledge regarding saving, building assets, investing, and leaving money to your children when you pass. For example, most people I knew growing up had no idea how to leave an inheritance using life insurance. People think that life insurance is only used to cover the cost of the funeral. They do not see it as a way to pass down wealth to their children as well. Even then, most people will still never end up getting life insurance, but instead leave the bill for end-of-life costs to their family members. In most cases, those family members will be left with no choice but to borrow money from elsewhere or start a GoFundMe fundraiser, asking help if they cannot afford to pay for the funeral costs. The problem here is a lack of education. If only they knew that by paying a monthly premium each month, lower than some of their bills, they could ensure that a significant amount of money will be given to their children when they pass. The other thing to be understood about life insurance is that some factors must be met for the money to be given by the life insurance company. For instance, your life insurance company might not pay out your policy if you die of a specific illness, but it will pay out if you die of some other kind of disease or accident that is not mentioned in their policy. You must read all the terms in your life insurance policy and understand everything. For example, See if they pay you out if you decided to take your own life. Do not just sign anything before you compare prices, especially when you are signing your mortgage papers. They will offer you life insurance, but shop around and see what else is out there. Once you've done this, compare and see if what the bank offers you makes sense for you and your family. It's critical that you make sure that you never miss a payment as well. It's better to use your last dollar and pay your monthly premium, because by doing that, you know that you are helping in securing your children's future. They won't have to ever decide between either paying their insurance premium or the electrical bill, because you will have sacrificed for them today to ensure that they have enough money to never worry about that. Most people are never taught at a young age how to properly buy an investment property, stocks, or how to keep money circulating within their community. These are just a few of the things that are not taught in typical minority households. Generational wealth isn't only about passing down finances, assets, or businesses. It's also about passing down things like education, great genes, and good health practices. If a child grows in an environment where eating healthy is a priority, then chances are they will grow up doing the same and pass those habits down to their kids. These practices will help your children's overall health, and most likely, their children's health will be in good standings as well. It's important to remember this one thing. How important can wealth be without good health? In this book, I want to show you, and anyone reading this book, some of the things that children are not being taught in our current school system. These are basic things that all parents should be teaching their children, because no one else will teach them. This information is vital to their financial success. Unfortunately, some parents grew up in the same system that doesn't teach them these vital things. The fact that no one ever taught them any of these things makes passing down this knowledge extremely challenging, but not impossible. This factor is the other primary reason why I decided to write this book. I want to pass down all the information that I've learned to you and anyone reading this book, in hopes that one day this book and the information within it will be passed down for many generations to come. In this book, I will be focusing on using real estate to help build your wealth and legacy, which you will pass down to your children's children.